Kansas State football coach Chris Klieman with me. David Smoke, 365 Sports. It's always great to have the head coach of the Wildcats with us. It's kind of is there ever a downtime anymore? There used to be a chance to kind of breathe and get away, but is that even the case anymore in college athletics as a football coach?
Well, for sure not in the month of June. We've made May and June really busy. Not any downtime. I hope everybody in our profession does shut it down for a few weeks in July. I know you're still texting and communicating with recruits, but with the grind of what our season is, we're going to shut it down for a handful of weeks here to start July. But no, it's few and far between anymore.
Did you gain what you needed to gain, one, through what you signed, of course, back in December and then February, but also the transfer portal? Seems like you got a nice chunk that came in.
We'll find out. We're with our guys right now. We have workouts with them, and there's a couple of position meetings and things. So you're watching the guys go through conditioning with our strength coaches. The thing that we've got to find a way in college athletics to figure out, or college football, to figure out is you lose kids in the portal after spring ball, you bring some more kids in, and then you don't get a chance to practice with those guys until August. And so all you're doing right now is watching them condition and maybe having a meeting with them now and then, but you're not really getting a chance to practice those guys until August. And so that's it's going to be a busy month of August trying to learn your team again.
Well, as far as the after post-spring drills and whether there's a scrimmage game or even none, and then you have the possibility of people leaving. How frustrating can that be? Does that change the way you went about what you did? And then on top of that, do you feel like there's a chance that you could have maybe a midsummer type, I don't know, practice type deal where you guys get about 3 to 5 days or so?
Yeah, I would like us to go to an OTA model similar to what NFL does in the month of June, because I go out there now and I know that's our roster. That's who we're going to have. Nobody can leave. We're not bringing anybody else in. That would be ideal. The spring ball stuff is great from a development standpoint, but in the same respect, are you developing them for somebody else? Are you developing them to get ready for your season, for not sure if they're going to leave your program? We were fortunate. We didn't lose. I think we lost one kid is all at the spring portal window. So our spring practices are with our roster, but we did add some other guys. And some of that is just the kids that didn't mid-year enroll. Those kids showed up in June. We're just watching. These are high school kids, and we're just watching them work out. I'd love it if we were able to have an OTA type mini camp like the NFL with your roster that is intact in June.
Well, it seems like it's basically almost even free agency, so why not attach NFL-type OTAs? I think that's a great idea. Let me ask you this. Have you ever thought, or has it ever been something that has been discussed about maybe in August, after a couple of weeks of practice, of having some sort of scrimmage against somebody else that is live and not just practicing against yourself, or maybe during the end of spring?
I know it's been talked about. If you did, it would be still a lot of young guys playing, because if it doesn't truly count, are your best players really going to go and risk injury?
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, some of that is the bowl game now.
Yeah.
If you have people leaving your program because they went in the portal in December, which we had last year. We played a lot of young guys in our bowl game, especially on special teams, where we got a pretty good evaluation of those guys. You got to practice them for 3 weeks. Then you got to play a bowl game, get some guys some reps that maybe didn't have as many reps during the season, whether we had attrition, whether we had people not playing in the bowl game from injury, whatever it may be. Not having that game count, I think, is a step in the right direction. But everybody's numbers at specific spots, you're developing depth. You usually know who your starters are, not where the depth is at. That's why I would love for us to get our hands on them in June. That's more important to me than getting our hands on him in April.
Jake Clifton left to go on a mission trip. Also, you were able to kind of fill that, I guess, with the portal. And the other question I had, and whenever I've talked about K-State, is Avery Johnson. We know how dynamic he is. We've seen him. He threw the ball more in the bowl game than he did almost the entire time he played during the season with Will Howard. But you still need that insurance policy. How much did Taquan Roberson bring that to your roster and depth chart?
We hope it did. Once again, we were on Taquan in May, so we didn't get a chance to practice him, but he's played, and that's the biggest thing.
Right.
We've got a talented quarterback room. It's a really young room, and I think bringing Taquan and that experience of an older guy that's played a lot of football, been in a lot of quarterback rooms, I think it's going to provide some maturity, some wisdom, and he's willing to. He wants to compete his tail off, and he's going to. But he also wants to be there and help. And I think the other thing is getting a guy like Matt Wells. And when I hired Wellesley, when I got Matt, you're familiar with him, and as I am through his days at Texas Tech and Utah State, to get an experienced guy that's been a play caller, been a head coach, been an OC, to be your quarterback and co-OC coach, it's really going to help our offense and help our Qs.
Avery Johnson, what he brings to the table, obviously a dynamic runner, and what Coach Wells can help with the passing game and watching him develop as a passer. How dynamic is he?
He's really special. He's the fastest kid on the field most games that he plays. He's the fastest kid on our team. I know some other guys would probably say they are, but this kid can really roll. I'm excited because he's a much better thrower of the football than he got a chance to probably show last fall. We did some things in bowl prep. We did some things in the spring, made some tweaks in what we're doing offensively, probably to emphasize his strengths a little bit more. But I'm excited because he throws the ball and doesn't really well and doesn't get the credit for it because he's so dynamic and can run the ball. And I'm looking forward to him having a really good year. He's still a young player. He's a true sophomore that hasn't had a ton of experience, but he's a very confident guy, but yet a very humble kid. I'm excited because I think he can be really special, and he's going to make some mistakes. He's still young, but I know he's going to learn from him and grow from him. And like I said, with he and Wells, I think it'll be a really good match.
Can you think of and I know that there are other programs that have dynamic running games, but with Giddens and now Edwards, and then, of course, what Avery can bring to the table, you have to fill a couple of holes from departures on the offensive line, which we'll get to. But that's pretty salty, Chris.
It's fast, and there's some guys that can really run back there and can get out and go. And then, DJ, we talked. There's really good backs in our league, really dynamic backs in our league. Sometimes I don't know if DJ gets in that upper echelon like he should be because he's a power guy. He's got great hands, protects the quarterbacks as well. I'm excited about our backfield. We've got a number of people that can do some special things with the ball in their hands.
You have Leviston, KT, who played here in Waco. We had him in the studio before the NFL draft. Obviously, BB and just a bunch of snaps. It just seemed like even with Coach Snyder to what you've done, that's just something where you guys almost like have a factory of those who come in and replace them. And it's the same type culture on the offensive or defensive line. Is that true?
It has to be, in my days of being a head coach, and I've been with Coach Riley, our offensive coordinator and O-line coach, we always want to have great depth in our O-line and have the next guy up mentality ready to go. And that's harder in today's day and age of football. But, I know we lose 4 real seniors in the offensive line, and then you throw Beebs in there. Gilly was a starter for us for a number of years at center. But we also have 2 kids that started a ton of football for us in Hadley Panzer and Carver Willis. But our other 3 guys are going to be in their 3rd or 4th or maybe 5th year in the program, that it's not like it's a brand new face that's a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. We have some of those guys that are going to help us and provide some depth and give us more bodies in there. But we've got some guys that have been in the program an awful long time that it's just their opportunity. And they probably would have had the opportunity last year but all those 6-year guys came back.
All right, K-State has always had great special teams. You have the coach that came in with the Commanders, had been there for 5 years in the NFL. But Kansas State, to me, is kind of like Coach Beamer when he was at Virginia Tech. It's something that is, again, it's just something that's a part of K-State football. How much of a tweak or how much infusion of adrenaline does he bring to the table?
Oh, we were so fortunate getting Nate Katzer to come in here and be a part of our program. He's from Western Kansas. He knows about Kansas kids. He was excited to come here. Just the resume and pedigree he has. It's a lot of our older guys that have aspirations to play at the next level have gravitated to Nate and are asking him tons and tons of questions. But you're right. It's a mindset here. We have a lot of walk-ons that have earned their stripes on special teams and ultimately earned scholarships, and our guys see that. And so it's got to be good for us. It's got to be really, really good. And there's times last year that it was really good, other times that wasn't so good. But our special teams are a staple here, and Coach Katz is really going to continue to emphasize that.
How much of a challenge is it to try to make sure the mixture of high school students, athletes, high school kids you recruit and sign, and what you do in the transfer portal? Is that something you're learning almost like now every year because it's so new?
Yeah, every year is a different challenge, and that's what we kind of talk about as our staff. We didn't know how the 22 season and roster was going to go. Then we get to the 23 and it changed a little bit. Now everything we're doing is focusing on the 24 team and what that roster is, whether it's true freshmen, and we're going to play more freshmen. I think everybody's going to play more true freshmen now, to the transfers, to the returners, and getting, we're looking at 25s and 26s, but you got to play in the now.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do everything in the now. You're developing still, and we're still a developmental program, but everything needs to be in the now and how you can be successful in the current season. And for us, that's this summer and fall.
Do you have any idea how this conference shakes out with the new four coming in? Obviously, what Coach Whittingham's done at Utah is really, really strong. In Arizona last year, despite the coaching change, they have some dudes coming back, and then those who you already know. And there could be like an algorithm of a schedule that can help or hurt a team. It is almost 16 almost getting to the point where it's too much.
No, I like the number. I mean, that's what everybody's going to, is these
right.
16-team leagues, and it's competitive and there's great parity, and I'm excited because of the new life that's come into our league with different teams. I think it's going to be fun for fan bases. We get Arizona and Arizona State coming in here, which will be fun games and really good programs. And then we go to BYU, to Colorado, to Cincy. Put a lot more work on our staff because we don't have a log of games we have on all these teams. And so, it's just strange for me. We don't get to hook up with Baylor this year, regular season. We don't hook up with TCU. We don't hook up with Texas Tech in the regular season. But that's just kind of the new wave of our league. And there's tons of parity, but it's just strange not playing some of those teams that you've played every year.
It is. Two more questions, and I appreciate your time. Chris Klieman, head coach at K-State. Was there a moment when you were a younger coach or even early on as a head coach at North Dakota State where you felt like you belonged?
Oh, boy. I never felt like that I really belonged, honestly, that I was just blessed with the opportunity and I was going to make the most of it. I never feel like, and I tell this to our players and I tell it to assistant coaches and even myself, don't ever think you've arrived because somebody's going to knock you off. Don't ever feel like I've got this thing licked and I've got it made. Whatever we're always growing and we're always trying to get better. And I still don't feel like I have arrived because I haven't. There's so much more that I want to do in my tenure here at K-State. And I say that if I feel like I have arrived, what am I going to tell a kid? That, okay, now all of a sudden Avery, all of a sudden he's arrived. No, there's so much more in front of us. And I just think we're always growing and getting better. And you never feel as soon as you become the success you are, the most likely person to beat you is yourself. and I'm never going to let that happen. I'm going to keep growing and keep pressing and keep trying to improve.
How critical is it if there are non-conference games initially between teams in the Big 12 and the other autonomy conferences, and even some tough and could be challenging non-conference games against others, to win those games, to give the Big 12 something to get like a little oomph on the national scale?
Yeah, I hope with all the realignment that's gone on that we all collectively in the Big 12, I know we want to beat each other's brains in during the season, that we're rooting for each other. I think it's really important that we stand behind each other, and these non-conference games are going to be really, really important and really big to set the stage for later on in the season, because our league is so good, but we need to root for each other and have really good success in the non-con.
Be honest with me. How many Pop-Tarts have you eaten since the bowl game?
Man, you know what? I'm looking at my desk, and I still got a box there.
I went and bought a box. I bought, I think the strawberry, the cinnamon, which I think seems to be the most popular. I like the strawberry. And we put it up on the set after your game. That was just a phenomenal post-game celebration. And I loved that. It brought back kind of some of that innocence of what bowl games used to be.
100%. And they did a phenomenal job marketing. Our kids absolutely had a blast. And I know you don't get a chance to go to a bowl game again twice, but the next people that go to that game are going to absolutely love it, because it was a lot of fun. And to go and be in Florida was pretty special, too.
Go enjoy, if you can, some decompression and take a deep breath. We always appreciate your time, Chris. Thanks for your time today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Kansas State head coach Chris Klieman on 365 Sports. We love Texas Beef House.